What's up, Star Wars fans? This is Brody from the Duel of the Ranks crew, coming at you with another Star Wars review. This week, we're breaking down the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 6, From the Desert Comes a Stranger. Now, this review is filled with spoilers, so if you haven't watched the episode yet, you really should. Now, seriously, you really should, because in this review, it is going down. Okay, everyone, wow, the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 6. Where do I even start? Cobb freaking Vanth, R2 freaking D2, freaking Grogu, Luke freaking Skywalker, Ahsoka freaking Tano, Cad freaking Bane. This episode was filled with fan service, and it simply did not disappoint. This episode starts off on Mos Pelgo, where we see Cobb Vanth, give the Pikes an option to get out of town or else. Wait, we're sure this isn't U.S. Marshal Raylan Givens, right? Southern accent, great with a gun, always gives the bad guys a chance to get out of town before shooting, represents a small little town, is ever so diligent to keep drug empires out of his town? Now, you're saying this is definitely Cobb Vanth? Okay then. Well, we initially see Cobb talk to representatives from the Pike Syndicate, and after politely asking them to scram, he proceeds to blast them all save one. This demonstrates how good of a marksman and quick shot Cobb is, which is pretty important to remember for later. From there, we see him kick over a case of brown sugar. From there, we see Mando fly onto a new planet where he's greeted by R2-D2. He states that he's looking for Grogu, and R2 brings him to, wait for it. Literally, wait for it. He brings him to a bench where he just needs to sit and just wait forever for Grogu to come back. So from there, we see him pan to Luke and Grogu, who are meditating, and I've got to say, this deep fake technology that they used for Mark Hamill this season was so much better than what they did for the finale of The Mandalorian. While his voice seems a bit stale and off at times, this version of Luke Skywalker seemed so real, and it was awesome to see. Now, as fans, we've all wanted to see Jedi Master Luke Skywalker in action, and after what we all requested in The Last Jedi with him drinking green milk, it's so cool to see them offering even more of that on top of here within those spin-off shows. During Grogu's training, we see some pretty awesome Easter eggs as well, from him learning to jump and flip like Yoda, to him being worn like a backpack, and Luke running a similar route to what he did in The Empire Strikes Back, and finally learning more about Grogu and where he was during Order 66. We see the 501st take out the Jedi protecting Grogu, and we're brought back into our current timeline. Thankfully, this flashback was a short one. From there, we see Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano, and it was so cool to see her give guidance to Luke. Luke's new to this whole starting a Jedi Order business, and it's neat to see how she can give him support by saying what worked versus what didn't with the old order. Now, when Luke isn't sure what to do, she tells him that he reminds her of Anakin, and that she's sure he'll make the right choice right before skipping out of town to go film her own show. Now, after these events, we cut back to Mando flying his N1 starfighter. Still not over how cool that is. Flies back into Tatooine and into Jabba's palace. We see him jump into a meeting with Boba, Fennec, Black Chrysanthemum, and the Biker Kids, where they're discussing plans for the upcoming fight between them and the Pikes, and we learn that they still need more muscle. Mando says he can help and is off to recruit Cobb Vanth, but Cobb and his people aren't interested in fighting. After everything is left off with the Krayt Dragon, they just want peace, but Cobb says, hey, he'll think about it anyway. So Mando leaves, and as he does, we see another character approach in the distance. Cobb tells everyone to go inside as this menacing-looking man walks toward town. Now, for all the fans who've watched the Clone Wars, I can only imagine you screamed like a child just as hard as I did when you immediately noticed that we were going to get the first on-screen adaptation of Cad Bane. So Cad walks up, tells Cobb, stay out of the way, or else. And once Cobb makes it clear that he will have no brown sugar in his town, the two have a draw. Cobb's deputy is there for support should anything go awry, and the episode already showcased how good of a shooter Cobb is, so everything should just be fine. Except this is Cad freaking Bane. Play the montage! So yeah, Mr. Bane shoots Cobb Vanth in the shoulder once and lights up his deputy like 4 or 5 times before leaving town. We see the townspeople walk out and realize that if they don't support Boba in the war, then the war is going to come to them. Finally, we cut back to Grogu where we see he is given a choice between going back to Mando, picking up his new chainmail and becoming a foundling, or picking up Yoda's lightsaber and choosing the way of the Jedi. Overall, this story was amazing for the Star Wars universe. We loved seeing all of these characters and how they're used to move the overall narrative along. You can tell that Dave Filoni directed this episode as it absolutely felt true to the Filoniverse and truly did amazing service to the characters he's created to this point. Now, all that said, the episode was a bit aggressive and you didn't get a whole lot of character development. The characters were all used to move a larger narrative versus each one of them getting their own outside of all the events that we see with Grogu. Now, while the last episode solely focused on Mando and felt like an episode of The Mandalorian, this chapter absolutely contributed to the Book of Boba Fett story arc, even though Boba had less than a minute of screen time. But hey, at least we get to see him this time in his own show. This episode had a real Avengers Infinity War setup where we get a ton of characters and a huge setup for the following story. Not only that, but this episode set up so many other potential shows as well. It was a ton of fun, and we can't wait for the Book of Boba Fett finale to see how this all shakes down. Now, do you agree with our review? Do you disagree with our review? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you want more Duel the Ranks content, then go check out our podcast where we do a full breakdown of every piece of Star Wars content to find what story is truly the best. In the show, myself and my 3 other co-hosts break down this episode as well as everything else where you can see how we came to the number we came to. It's a lot of fun, so if you want, go check out the podcast. Yeah, you won't be disappointed. And for all our things Duel the Ranks, go to dueltheranks.com where you can see our episodes, our store, you can see our blog. If you have your own hot takes or anything you want to submit, then go do so there as we will be shouting those out on the show. Thanks so much for checking out this week's review of the Book of Boba Fett, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.